Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here. Today we're talking about a PlayStation leak, and one that I think that, if it's real, is possibly going to cost them billions of dollars. But it actually involves Marathon, the Bungie game, obviously, right? Next live service project. You know, about 5 years back, Sony really pushed this idea that the next big wave of video games should all be live service. At the time, they announced 12 separate live service projects. At this point, most of them have been canceled. The studios have been closed. Stuff like Concord came out. I feel like the one actual success has been Helldivers 2. Everything else has been a catastrophic flop. Well, today, somebody has decided to leak a bunch of top secret info, including pricing, season passes, all sorts of stuff about Marathon. And honestly, the entire internet is saying this just sucks. But I'm also in the spot where I gotta be honest, I've had a chance to talk to some people. I've had a chance to do a little bit of leaking of my own. I've talked to people that have been playtesting Marathon, and pretty much everybody says it's fine. It's getting better, but it still doesn't seem as worth any cost. Let me break this down. I want to take a look at all these leaks because it's honestly interesting to think that after buying Bungie for $3.6 billion, it does seem like Sony has had a lot of buyer's remorse. Let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, this all comes from a guy called Colony Deeks. Now, this guy is only a Destiny and a Marathon leaker. This guy has tons of stuff, all sorts of crazy top secret documents, future abilities, future season passes, all sorts of stuff. Well, a couple hours ago, he randomly just dropped this. And I feel like not a lot of people are quite reacting to it yet, but I wanted to take a look at it because some people, even in the immediate aftermath of this, a lot of people are saying this thing is going to be the next Concord, undoubtedly, right? Marathon pricing info. Season pass is just cosmetics, not going to lock any abilities or anything like that. Around $10 US. Deluxe Edition includes around $30 of season pass tokens. God, I hate that kind of stuff. Base game is priced around $40, but the Deluxe Edition, that is $60. The Deluxe Edition has some extra weapon skins and stuff like that. It's got a little pink pistol, yay! Charm, emblem, and profile background detail. All of these are prices to change, so don't kill me if that changes. Now, if he knows this, it usually means there's some sort of back-end pre-order. A lot of times these leaks happen because there's some way that certain leakers have access to databases. You can actually see when stuff gets uploaded to Steam. They'll data mine it out of all sorts of shops and stores. So if he sees a $40 price tag, it probably means they're about to start taking pre-orders, which is bizarre because at this point, we still don't have a release date. We still don't really even have a second test of the game itself. Now, this is absolutely true. The next time we see Marathon, it's going to look radically different. They got caught plagiarizing a ton of stuff. Decals, icons, art style. They got caught in a massive plagiarism scandal, which is crazy because this is actually, I think, the third plagiarism scandal that's hit Bungie. But in this case, they've said, okay, we're going to fix it. We're going to get this right. Now, it seems like they are going to try to overhaul the cosmetics to some degree, but it actually goes worse than that. Look at this. Do we know anything about post-launch plans, assuming we get that far? Seasons are still planned, one new runner per season. Now, the way that this works, Marathon, is it's an extraction shooter. There's different heroes that have different abilities, turning invisible, seeing enemies through walls, being able to create shadow clones and stuff like that. But what does seem kind of interesting to me, I feel like this is the make or break, in my opinion, is that if the characters feel fun, if they feel different, and if there is some sort of progression. I do feel like what gets me most addicted to the gameplay loop of any game, even like an extraction shooter where it is about building up a character, trying not to die, to lose all your items and stuff. I need that addictive loop of constantly feel like I have built my own character. If the runners are good, I do think that's good. I think that if they manage to make a good balance of different heroes with different unique abilities instead of just like bland, homogenous, hyper-balanced, boring slop, there is potential, but unfortunately, there have been some leaks that people apparently are kind of disappointed with the game itself. A little on this, since the first alpha, there have been leftovers of DNA splicing mechanic that seem to be completely missing from the current Marathon. Who knows if the content creators are playing this? I'm sure Cryo will still have something. Essentially what people are talking about is people that are secretly playing the game right now. a lot of people are sort of saying it feels like it's missing stuff. Even stuff from previous alphas and betas has actually been removed. Look at this. My testimonial is that I played this game. The game is akin to zombie Easter eggs. That's how much story is in this. You essentially just play the game. There's a couple things. You do extractions, and later on you get to do these dungeons and raids. But it does seem like, just in general, a lot of people that are playing it, it seems like it just kind of lacks that content. It feels like it does kind of feel bare bones. So a lot of people are really fixating on that $40 price tag. Now, some people are saying, okay, free to play maybe isn't the answer. I saw this super viral article actually by Tom Henderson who said, even if it's free to play, Marathon is going to struggle, but as a priced title, it stands no chance. Brutal announcements from the studio soon after launch if this happens IMO. Now, Sony themselves has straight up talked about the fact that they have an agreement going with Bungie. And Bungie apparently is on board with this. They've apparently been on board with this since the acquisition, but they apparently said, if we don't become profitable, if we don't make enough money, if we don't release enough good games, we're going to get eaten by Sony. Now, it sounds like they're going to do quite a bit of layoffs, but it sounds like what PlayStation's plan is there is a lot of old school talent at Bungie, despite all the plagiarism, I guess. So apparently the plan is that if this game bombs, they're just going to gobble them all up. They're going to take every employee and they're going to move them into this studio or that studio, put them at Sony Santa Monica, have them work at Insomniac. Everybody here is still going to be working somewhere, but a lot of the executives, a lot of the people at the top, probably getting that golden guillotine, right? But I feel like I'm a little bit split because I do think that free to play or paid, I do just feel like something about this feels very, very underbaked. I feel like my big problem with live service, more than anything else, is that it's two separate things. One, I'm obsessed with a good story. I feel like a good story, even if it's weird and different, even if it's super out there and stuff, I really like a good story that challenges me, that emotionally engages me, that makes me care about the character's journey, the world, the universe, right? I feel like if a story is good, I'm more likely to play the DLC. I'm more likely to buy the sequel. I'm more likely to rant and rave and tell my friends about it. But it's also the fact that, honestly, with a lot of live service stuff, I don't like the fact that it's just this perpetually pivoting product. You know, it's this whole idea, we're going to make stuff always updating, always trying to get you to get addicted to it. Here's a new character. Here's a new skin. Here's a new, oh no, the store's about to refresh. You better buy all the stupid little trinkets. I just feel like free-to-play games, or just live service games in general, when they're good, they're fine, and when they're bad, they're slop. This is clearly such a backwards way of doing it. In my opinion, it's very obvious that they're just doing this for the profit. I do think that this is not a passion project. It seems very stale and soulless. And I do think that even if this is free to play, I just don't think it's going to succeed. But with a $40 price tag, I almost think if you're going to put a price tag on it at all, I think it should be like $10 or $15 or include it with PlayStation Plus. You know, I feel like there is not a lot of stuff that launches day and date into PlayStation Plus. It happens occasionally. I'd say like 2 or 3 games a year. You know, we've had some good Sea of Stars. That game kicked ass. That was an indie that launched day and date. This week we had Sword of the Sea. There are some games that launch day and date onto it, but I feel like with this, they should just come out and say, hey, we're excited about this. Everybody that has PlayStation Plus this month, the free game of the month is Marathon. Get people addicted to it. Get people talking about it. And then, of course, they have to buy it on other platforms. Even if it is $10, $15, God, please, hopefully not $40. People still have to buy it on Steam. People still have to buy it on Xbox. I feel like, in a way, it would incentivize an early player base and almost kind of entice more people. Oh, what's going on over there? I want to see what's up with Marathon. But I just feel like a $40 price tag, to me, it's going to be dead on arrival. I wanted to talk about this because I saw a lot of people reacting to it over on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit. I do want to quickly say, it does sound like the game is going to be decently sized. A lot of guns. It sounds like there's more maps than we've seen so far. It sounds like as your character gets strong enough, you can actually, if you survive multiple maps and stuff, there is a big raid that still kind of sucks, but it's more interesting at least. I wanted to take a look at this Reddit though, right? Okay, 28 weapons, $10 cosmetics, $60 Deluxe Edition, base game $40. Look at this. The year is 1994. Marathon's success or failure determines if Bungie lives. The year is 2026. Marathon's success or failure will determine if Bungie lives. I still can't believe that Sony paid $3.6 billion for Bungie. Maybe someone smarter than me can explain, but this seems like a huge overpay. Now, at the time, the reason they paid so much, and this is according to legal documents and from Sony themselves, usually when you buy a company for cheap, it's somebody that's running out of cash, people that are like really hurting for capital, right? So essentially what they said is, we're buying Bungie and all current worker contracts. Now, what that makes it different is typically when you buy a company, you're buying the brands, the IPs, the buildings and stuff like that. Whereas in the case of this, Sony said, we want to own all the current talent currently even tangentially connected to this. And honestly, at the time, a lot of people championed that, saying, heck yeah, I'm glad you're not just buying it and gutting it and rolling it into a giant slot pile. I'm glad you're actually keeping current Bungie as current as possible. It turned out that was a giant, mistake, because ever since then, Destiny 2 has gone downhill. Destiny 3 has been canceled. It sounds like, honestly, Marathon's going to be in a lot of trouble. But honestly, that $3.6 billion, they definitely didn't make that back. And I think in a lot of ways, they're definitely probably saying, we should have just bought it for like $1 billion and not paid 4 times too much. Honestly, I think the Bungie name alone will ensure it isn't big or as quick a failure as Concord was. This is an interesting point, just my opinion. Now, I'm not saying the game will be good by any means, but I do think a lot of people will buy it because of Bungie. It is interesting that I don't think that Bungie has that group of haters that some companies have. The way that people are like proudly anti-Ubisoft, the way that people enjoy hating Xbox. You know, what kind of monsters would make 10 videos hating on Xbox a week? But my point is the fact that, honestly, Bungie does have more infrastructure. It does have more fans. It does have more interested parties involved with it, right? I do still feel like, man, it's just not really going to work. I do feel like a lot of these live service games need millions and millions of players to stay profitable. Like, the big problem with live service that every company will tell you is that you're perpetually at crunch mode. You're always making new matches, always trying to make new maps, always trying to make new guns, always trying to make new challenges, always patching new bugs, always trying to roll out new cosmetics. It makes it where instead of making a game, taking a break, coming back, working on the next project, instead you're perpetually at launch mode forever. It's more expensive to have a live service game than a single player game. That means this could cost hundreds of millions of dollars after it's released if it's even mildly successful. How long can they keep that up? Probably not very long. Look at all the comments really kind of talking about this, though. Here, I wanted to take a look at this one here. Welcome back, Concord. Concord to Concordia. I do think the stink of Concord is just never going to wash off. Am I crazy here? But I do feel like Concord is such a unique, catastrophic flop. I have never seen a live service game in my life. Maybe the only other one that comes to mind is there was a game called The Culling. There was like an online sort of silly battle royale game called The Culling. They launched The Culling 2 randomly. It was absolute dog crap, and everybody hated it so much and did so many mass refunds. They unreleased the game, refunded everybody, and then ended up making The Culling 1 remastered instead of a new game. I do feel like the stink of this, though, Concord dying so fast, dying in less than a week, is still just, it's the kind of thing that I feel like taints the live service brand even more, right? Rest in peace, Marathon. I can imagine the image announcing the shutdown now. Yeah, dead on arrivals. ArcWriter is going to blow this out of the water, has way more hype surrounding it. Let's bring back dormant IP Marathon, but make it an always online extraction shooter. Genius idea. Is this not the default for games as a service things? It'll sell 1 Concordian units. This seems like such an obvious, stupid mistake, an avoidable error, but I feel like now they've kind of put themselves in a hard spot. You can't really reboot it. You can't make it free if that's your plan, or even if you do make it free, does that mean you're going to get more hackers? Does that mean you're going to get more attention? If you make it free, does that mean it's going to have a lot more microtransactions like Splitgate? Splitgate came out this year and was a catastrophe because Splitgate 2 had hundreds of dollars of microtransactions for a pretty 7 out of 10 game, which made it where people were like, yeah, man, I don't want to play a game that seems so obviously meticulously designed to rob you. These are some off-the-cuff thoughts. How do you feel about the future of Bungie and specifically Marathon? I am hoping. I still have not had a chance to play it. I do want to get into one of the alphas or betas. I would love to play Marathon. I do think it's probably going to die instantly, but I kind of have this thing where I like to play online games before they flop so I can record a bunch of footage and sort of just in my own way have my own little documentary gameplay of a piece of time that's now lost. But tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.